In this presentation, we will talk about some of the most common spelling rules and generalizations in the English language. Do you remember Nava from Course 1? In her video, Nava said that spelling is one of the most challenging tasks for her in school. That's because students on the dyslexia continuum struggle to connect sounds to symbols to decode words, and spelling is highly reciprocal to reading. So, for students like Nava, as well as the majority of students who require explicit systematic code-based instruction, spelling can be challenging. Memorizing spelling lists of words that have no orthographic connection, meaning the structure of the words are not similar, will not help students generalize spelling concepts. Instead, using a structured literacy approach, educators can pass along explicit information about the structure of the English language. It's never too late to introduce students to these spelling rules and generalizations to help them demystify the spelling of words. And any instruction that explicitly teaches students to spell words will help strengthen the visual word form area of the brain needed for decoding and will have reciprocal benefits on their reading. It's helpful to teach these explicitly in elementary school in conjunction with decoding instruction. In older grades, teachers can support their students by not just marking a spelling error as incorrect, but by giving students immediate corrective feedback using a rule or generalization to support their spelling with not just that word, but other similar words as well. This screenshot is taken from the RIDE Foundational Skills Student Checklist. You may consider pausing this video to read through examples and think through words you teach in your context that you can use to reinforce these concepts. Let's talk through a couple of these examples. Spelling generalizations are used to explicitly teach students when to use particular letter combinations in a word and when. This example is sometimes referred to as the fat cat, skinny kitty generalization. In this generalization, students would learn that they should use K to spell k before the thinner or skinnier vowels of E, I, and Y. And in contrast, they should use C to spell k before the wider vowels such as A, O, and U. A second common example is how to spell the sound E at the end of a word. Students benefit from explicitly learning that when you hear E at the end of a word, it's not spelled with the letter E, but typically with the letter Y. In fact, E at the end of a word is usually only there because it has a job, to make the vowel sound long, or to follow a consonant such as V, since English words do not end in a V. Students also benefit from learning that there are only about 40 words that use EY to represent the sound E, although these words are commonly used. You may consider sharing these mnemonic sentences to help students remember which words those are. Sometimes, additional letters are added to some graphemes or letters in order to protect the short vowel sound in a word. These generalizations include using final DGE to spell the sound J at the end of a word, following a short vowel, as well as using TCH to spell ch, and CK to spell k at the end of a word after a short vowel. In an unstressed syllable, the vowel sound often changes to or I. Think of the first and last A's in banana, or the E in blanket. Knowing about schwa helps students understand why some vowels are spelled differently than they sound. There are also 6 spelling rules that are mostly dedicated to changing the end of a word's spelling when adding a suffix. As we go through these rules, reflect on how you might be able to incorporate any of them when teaching the most commonly used words within your setting. The E rule dictates that when you add a suffix to a word ending in a silent E, you drop the E if the suffix begins with a vowel, or you keep the E if the suffix begins with a consonant. The Y rule states when you add a suffix to a word ending in Y, change the Y to an I if there's a consonant before the Y, consonant change, or keep the Y if there's a vowel before the Y, or if the suffix begins with an I. A lot has happened to the pronunciation of English since words began being written down long ago. In fact, students often find comfort in knowing that if something seems like it's spelled crazy, it's usually because the pronunciation of the word has changed. The more you can support students across grades with these explicit key insights into spelling, the better their spelling, writing, and reading will be.